Good morning and high five on this Wednesday. Today I'm going to talk about the full moon tonight. It's going to be the last full moon of the decade. So you're going to hear about it on the news. They're going to make a big deal about it. But what I think is a really big deal is it's going to, December is the 12th month, and tomorrow after midnight will be the 12th day. So it'll be 12:12, but guess what time it's going to come up? At 12:12 a.m. So 12th month, 12th day, 12th hour, 12th minute. Now, that is extremely unusual. Do we see a pattern here in something? Number one, it's the last full moon of the decade. The number 12, number 12 represents government. There's four perfect numbers. And the fourth one is the number 12, and it represents government and perfect divine authority. There's 12 tribes, there's 12 disciples, there's 12 hours of the day, there's 12 hours of the night, there's 12 main constellations, or 12 months in a year. And what's interesting, somebody sent this to me yesterday, the 12th time Jesus is mentioned in the New Testament is found in Matthew 4:10, where he established the truth of divine government when he says, "Begone, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God and serve him only." Now, it's really interesting how these things fall into place. And how many of you know the Hebrew word for coincidence? There is none. So this really has got a prophetic meaning, and I think that you're going to hear the prophets come out with it. On God's calendar, it is the month of Kislev. It's a month of hope. It's a month of dreams. It actually is the darkest month of the year because it has the winter solstice in it. There may be a color on this full moon tonight. If there is a blood moon, it would always be on a full moon. That's the only time you're going to ever see a blood moon. But it's not going to be a blood moon tonight because we're not going to have the alignment tonight. But there may be a color in the areas where the volcanoes are erupting. It could be a pink, it could be purple, it could be blue. So we'll find out that tomorrow after the full moon. On the Hebrew calendar, it is the date of the first of the tribes was born. His name was Reuben, and his name means "see a son." And I thought that was kind of interesting that it's the full moon, the last moon of the decade, is on Reuben. Reuben was unstable as water. He had really bipolar tendencies, and he wouldn't fight. So it's kind of interesting. Maybe we're coming to the end of those that won't fight. Maybe we're coming to the end of the intercessors being quiet, huh? Every month the Native American Indians had given a name to every full moon. And so January, they call it the wolf moon because that is when the wolves would howl at the full moon because it was so cold and they couldn't find anything to eat. The February would be called the snow moon because that would be the month with the most snow. March would be called a worm moon because the ground would be starting to thaw out and the worms would start moving. April would be called the pink moon because they would see these natural wildflowers. The whole hill would be covered with pink flowers. They were the wild ground flux, PHLOX, flux. In May, it would be called the flower moon because that would be the abundance of flowers. June would be called the strawberry moon because that's when the strawberries ripened. July would be called the buck moon because that would be when the antlers were in full growth on the deer. August would be called the sturgeon moon because the Great Lakes up north, where these Native American Indians were, they would be easily caught in abundance on that month. September would be the harvest moon because that was when you would harvest a crop. October would be the hunter's moon because you would start hunting and preparing your food for the winter. November would be called the beaver's moon because they would set traps to catch the beavers before the winter freeze. December would be called the cold moon, and that's what we have this time, the cold moon. That's when the nights are the longest of the year and the darkest. So I hope we'll talk about the full moon tomorrow, see if any place had a color to it. God bless you. Bye-bye.